Let's go. Free Advice Friday, back for the first time in 2025, which is crazy. I can't believe that it took me all the way until January 31st to finally be able to get back online and do a Free Advice Friday. But here we are. I'm excited to be back. Looking forward to doing this with you. I know it's been a while. December was a crazy month. January got off to a crazy start as well, but we're ready. We're here. We're going. We're live. It's Free Advice Friday, and I'm looking forward to spending some time with you guys and answering all of your voiceover business and marketing questions. I want to start off, though, by talking about something that I think is very important, something that you've heard me talk about before, but something that needs to be reiterated because I don't think that we can ever hear it enough. You've heard me say probably a million times that success is in the follow-up. Maybe you've heard me say it 2 million times. Doesn't change the fact that success is in the follow-up. In 2024, I did somewhere in the neighborhood of 800 coaching sessions. And in the vast majority of those coaching sessions, follow-up was one of the things that we talked about because it was where voice actors were dropping the ball. It was where they were missing out on opportunities. You can't just send a connection request on LinkedIn, have that person accept your connection request, and then sit back and wait for them to hire you. You can't just send an introductory email to a company telling them about your voiceover services, and then maybe they respond in a positive way, and then you just sit back and wait for them to hire you. This is not how it works. You have to follow up. And there is a lot of hard data that backs up this concept of follow-up, that it takes 80% of sales happen between the 5th and 12th contact is one of the statistics that gets thrown around along a lot of times. And it is absolutely accurate. You have to have a strategy for follow-up. Now, for years, I have subscribed to a very specific follow-up strategy. I send my introductory email. If I don't get a response, I send one follow-up about a week later. And then if I don't get a response to that, I would send a second follow-up approximately a week after that. And then I would let it go. I would move on. My whole thought process was there's plenty of fish in the sea, as it were. More than enough voiceover leads out there for me. I don't need to spend all of my time working on those that aren't answering, so I move on to the next ones. I'm telling you today that I am completely overhauling my follow-up strategy. I have been working on a new follow-up strategy that I started testing in late November of last year. Took a little bit of a break over the Christmas holidays because I don't think that email marketing is generally as effective over the Christmas holidays, but got it going again in this early part of January. Not right at probably about the second week, about the second week of January. I got it going again. But I am taking an entirely different approach to follow-up. And I'm actually really surprised by what I'm seeing. And so because of that, because of this totally new approach to follow-up, it's one of the reasons why I decided that I'm going to overhaul my Follow-Up Academy Masterclass. And so coming up here in a couple of weeks, I am going to be teaching a fully, completely updated version of my Follow-Up Master Academy. And in that Follow-Up Academy Masterclass, I'm going to teach you what this new follow-up strategy is that I am deploying. So a couple of things have changed. First and foremost, I am doing more follow-ups than I have ever done before. And secondly, I have fully automated that system, which is amazing. So it used to be that I would send the introductory email, then I would have to set a reminder for myself, and then I would have to go into my CRM, and I'd have to check my reminders. And then when I saw that there was a reminder that it was time to follow up again, I would have to send a 1-week follow-up. And so everything was manual, and it was incredibly time-consuming. And so because of how time-consuming it was, it didn't allow me to do it at a really high scale because I only have so many available hours in the day to work on this stuff. And so by now having the ability to create a totally different follow-up strategy that allows me to send more emails but takes less time than ever before because so much of it is automated, it really is a game changer for me, and it will be a game changer for you as well. So I'm going to teach that whole entire deal in my Follow-Up Academy Masterclass. So if you are interested in learning about it, if you go to VOpreneur.com and you click on the store button, this is what you're going to see. I'm going to be teaching Follow-Up Academy twice. It's going to happen on February 11th at 1 o'clock Eastern Time, and it is going to happen on February 13th at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. So Pick the date and time that works best for you. But in this 2-hour masterclass, I am going to walk through not only why it is essential for you to follow up, but exactly what that follow-up sequence and strategy should look like. And because the next most common question to how often should I follow up is what do I say in my follow-ups? I am going to also include a ton of practical examples of what you can say in a follow-up, including some actual emails that I have sent in my own marketing efforts. So if you are not currently doing follow-ups, if your follow-ups are not working, or if you just don't even know where to start with all of this, Follow-Up Academy is going to be a game changer for you too. I'm so excited to teach this updated class. I've been working on it for about a week. I'm probably going to work on it all through the weekend. But head over to the website again, viopreneur.com/store if you want to go there directly, or viopreneur.com, click store from the menu. It's right there at the top. Follow-Up Academy Masterclass, again, February 11th, 1 o'clock Eastern, February 13th, 7 p.m. Eastern. I would love to have you join me live for this masterclass. And by the way, if you cannot attend live for any reason, you will get access to the recording, so make sure that you sign up. And if you have previously purchased Follow-Up Academy, you will get access to the fully updated version of it, no extra cost to you. So keep that in mind as well. So that's what's going on with Follow-Up Academy, and completely changing my follow-up strategy, and it's working. So I'm excited. I'm excited to share it with you. So that's what's going on with that. So this is all about you, though. I am here to answer your voiceover business and marketing questions. That is what Free Advice Friday is all about. And obviously, haven't been able to do that for a while. So I'm excited to be back. Let's see what's going on. Welcome, Iris. Welcome, Julie. Briscoe's in the house. Michelle is here. Marie. Ro hanging out here watching Free Advice Friday as well. So if you have a question that you would like to ask and get answered for Free Advice Friday, it's very simple. Type it in the comments. That's it. Now, if you would put a Q beside it before you type your comment, it makes it stand out a little bit easier for me in the chat. Makes it a little bit easier for me to find it. But what are your voiceover business and marketing questions? What are the things that you want to talk about? What are the things that are stressing you out? What are the things that you wish that you had a better understanding of? That's what I am here for the next 53 minutes. To answer as many questions as I possibly can for you. So don't be shy. If you've got a question, feel free to type it into the comments. I am looking forward to answering as many questions as I can over the course of the next hour or so. So ask away, please, by all means. Ask away. All right, so let's see. Oh, here we go. First question popping up. Let's do it. This one comes from Andrew. Happy Friday. I'm still finding my footing in VO about a year in. When should I start incorporating marketing into my overall strategy? Andrew, great question. The answer to that is as soon as possible. So with Voiceover Marketing Playbook, I say if you have professional training, if you have professional demos, and if you have a professional home studio, then you have the tools that you need, really. You need a website too. So if you have those things, if you are trained, if you have your demos, if your website is up and running, and you have your home studio so that you can record in, you have all of the tools that you need to be able to market your voiceover business. And so once you have those tools in place, that is when it is time to start marketing. You can do your online casting and submit your auditions. You can apply for agents and get signed and submit your auditions, and there's nothing wrong with those things. I think they should be certainly part of your strategy, but I also think that marketing, direct marketing, needs to be part of your overall strategy as well. What does that look like? That can look like a lot of different things. Direct marketing can look like email marketing. It can be cold calling. It can be in-person networking. It can be using social media tools. Maybe you're going to develop a video strategy for YouTube Shorts or for Instagram Reels, or maybe you are going to focus on LinkedIn and work on building your professional network on that platform and becoming a content creator on LinkedIn. It doesn't matter. And it could be any combination of all of those things that we just talked about. But when to start is as soon as you have the tools. So as long as you have those things in place, then I think that you are ready to go. So there's the follow-up question to that is there such a thing as too soon, or should I have certain boxes ticked before I get it in, before I bring it into the fold? So that's it. Have you done your training? Do you have your demos? Do you have your home studio so you can record if you get the bookings? Do you have a website that you can direct people to? Because that's what's going to house your demos. And for me anyway, the vast majority of my marketing efforts are driving traffic to my website, because my thought process is if I can get them to my website, if I can get them to listen to my demos, hopefully my demos are good enough and my demos are going to do the selling for me. So there you go. Hopefully that answers your question, Andrew. Great one to start off Free Advice Friday. Briscoe says, you mentioned the hashtag strategy is becoming diminished. Can you elaborate on what the next strategy is? It's going to be keywording, I think. This is a really great question. So I did a podcast episode about this a couple of weeks ago. And if you haven't had a chance to listen to that episode of the podcast, go back. You can find that wherever fine podcasts are given away for free. You can also find it if you go to VOpreneur.com, click on that podcast link, 2025 hashtag strategy. It's right here on the YouTube channel, so you can look it up on YouTube as well. But the hashtag strategies have changed. So Elon Musk has said directly on X that hashtags are ugly and that they're no longer necessary. If you ask Grok, which is the AI that is incorporated into X, Grok says that the hashtags on the platform are about as useless as a screen door on a submarine, which is pretty direct and to the point. LinkedIn announced last year that they were changing the way that they were going to be using hashtags on the strategy, that they announced that they were going to be changing the way hashtags are used on the platform. And Instagram has started to work on some different ways of using and employing hashtags as well. But the bottom line is this: I think for X and LinkedIn in particular, it looks like what they're going to be doing is they're going to be focusing more on the actual content of the post. So what does that look like practically speaking? Let's say that I write a post about my voiceover services that I offer for e-learning. And I take that post and I share that post on LinkedIn. In the past, one of the ways that I could try to get that post in front of the right people was by using the corresponding hashtags that audience would, in theory, be using. So I write my post on LinkedIn about my e-learning work, and then I use hashtag e-learning, maybe hashtag instructional design, maybe hashtag training videos, for example. I put those hashtags at the end of the post. That post gets indexed under those hashtags. And in theory, people who follow those hashtags or use those hashtags would potentially be people who would... Siri's talking to me. Why is Siri talking to me? Shut up, Siri. People who use them... Sorry, my HomePod was going off. In theory, people who use those hashtags would see the content that you are creating. What is going to happen now that we are, allegedly anyway, LinkedIn is moving away from a hashtag strategy, is it's going to use AI to discern from your post who the most appropriate audience is for your post. So in this case, if I'm writing a post about my e-learning work, I want to make sure that when I write that post, I would include the word e-learning, possibly include the words training videos, possibly include instructional designer somewhere in the post, so that when AI is looking through the actual content of the post, it can say, well, this post appears to be about e-learning, so let's push that out to an e-learning audience and maybe push it out to instructional designers. And I believe that X is kind of working the same way now. So basically, it's going to be about appropriately keywording your post. So when you are writing content, I would say at least for now on LinkedIn and on X, make sure that you are thinking about who is the audience that I'm trying to reach with this, and what keywords would I want to use so that the algorithm can figure out who it is best directed to. So hopefully that answers the question. Hopefully that expands on it for you a little bit, Mr. Briscoe. And if you haven't had a chance to go back and listen to that episode, again, it's available at VOpreneur.com. It's available right here on the YouTube channel. It's available wherever fine podcasts are given away for free. The title of the episode, Hashtags Are Evolving, What You Need to Know for 2025. And it is definitely one that is worth giving a listen. All right. By the way, if you have a question for Free Advice Friday, again, don't be shy. Feel free to type your question into the comments. If you put a Q beside it, it makes it a little bit easier for me to find in the chat. But I will certainly get to as many questions as I can here. If I answer your question, or if you're enjoying the live stream, or if I share an insightful piece of advice, I'd certainly also appreciate it if you would give me a thumbs up. All right, Kelly says, hey, Mark, what advice do you have for someone, me, hand orange covering eyes, who is incredibly overwhelmed with marketing, is afraid to even begin doing it? There are so many different ways to do it. It's a lot. Yes, it is. It is a lot, and it can feel overwhelming. But one of the beautiful things about marketing is that because it's a lot, that means there's so many different ways to do it. And so think about the way that speaks to you the most. If you told me that going forward, the only way that I would be able to market my voiceover business was to do cold calling, I would probably quit voiceover tomorrow. Like, I would legitimately rather not do this than have to be a cold caller, because that is not my jam. I'm just not into it whatsoever. Thankfully, I have found other ways of building my business that don't involve cold calling, using email, using LinkedIn, for example. That being said, I could point you in the direction of some people who are cold callers who are absolutely crushing it. And so the beauty of this industry and the beauty of marketing in general is that there are so many different ways that you can do it, that there's something that works for everyone. So first and foremost, Kelly, I would say you don't have to do all the things. So let's just start there. You do not have to do all the things. Secondly, I would say you do not have to be in all the places. I think that's also another common misconception. I got to have Facebook. I got to have Instagram. I got to have WhatsApp. I got to have Snapchat. I got to have X. I got to have TikTok. Probably better get on YouTube. Definitely need to use LinkedIn. Is MySpace even still a thing? And no wonder we start to feel a little bit overwhelmed, because who the heck has time to maintain a dozen different social media platforms in addition to, trying to live a life? And so, number one, you don't have to do all the things. Number two, you don't have to be in all the places. Where do you start? Pick the strategy that appeals to you the most. If that's email, then focus on email and focus on learning how to find leads and focus on how to write a good email and learning how to write a good email, and set a goal for yourself. Commit to, I'm going to start by sending 5 emails a day. So you make it simple. If it's LinkedIn, maybe you decide that LinkedIn is where you think you really fit. Perfect. Make a point of spending at least 30 minutes a day on LinkedIn, 5 days a week. And while you are on LinkedIn, make a point of sending a certain number of connection requests every day. Again, pick a number so that you've got something that you can measure. Make a point of leaving a certain number of comments every week. Again, pick a number that you can measure, and make a point of creating your own content strategy. I'm going to post once a week. I'm going to send 5 connection requests a day, and I'm going to leave 5 comments a day. There you go. You now have a LinkedIn marketing strategy, and a LinkedIn marketing strategy that's completely manageable. So when you're feeling overwhelmed, Kelly, and you're not really sure where to start, I think that's what you bring it down to. And if you want to dig into it even further, absolutely, that's something that I would be happy to do with you. All right, Steve says, what is the best sequencing to connect with LinkedIn contacts after someone has accepted your request? I've tried messaging in the app, but it seems like it's better to email instead. Great question, Steve. And my strategy does vary depending on what I see. So when I send somebody a connection request on LinkedIn, no matter what, I always want to try to send them a thank you note for connecting. So once I see that they've accepted my connection request, I do want to try to send that thank you note right away. Where I differ in my LinkedIn strategy is when I can discern how active the person is on LinkedIn. So if I'm going to make LinkedIn my first point of contact, I'm primarily saving that for the people who seem to be very visibly active on the platform. One of the ways that you can figure that out is if you go to somebody's profile, even if you're not connected with them, you can go to their profile, depending on their privacy settings, and you can see their activity. And if you go to the activity section and you can see, okay, this is somebody that is posting once a week, or this is somebody who seems to be commenting regularly, or this is somebody who has never shared anything on LinkedIn ever. Well, the person who has never shared anything on LinkedIn ever, that's somebody that I'm going to probably try to reach out to via email. The person who it looks like maybe they only pop in once every 6 months, maybe once a quarter, that's somebody that I'm probably going to try to make my first contact with via email. The person who appears to be on the platform daily, weekly, maybe even monthly, I might give them a first shot via LinkedIn and see if it works. I will send that thank you message when they do accept my connection request. And usually in that thank you message, I'm trying to spark a conversation with them. At this point, I'm not talking about voiceover. At this point, I am just trying to get them to engage with me in some way. Okay, what is everybody's favorite subject to talk about? It's themselves. So if I can give them a reason in my follow-up note on LinkedIn to get them to talk about themselves, then maybe I can get a conversation going. And if I can get a conversation going, then ultimately I may have the opportunity to shift that conversation towards voiceover. So that's kind of the strategy overarching that I take on LinkedIn. For those of you that are interested in diving in a little bit deeper into specific LinkedIn strategies, I do have a class. If you go to vopreneur.com and click on the store button, right here, Making Money with LinkedIn. This is a 2-hour masterclass that is a literal deep dive into everything that I am doing on LinkedIn and all the different strategies that I'm using. But that gives you a pretty good general overview of where to start, Steve. So look at how active they are on the platform, make some decisions there. But when you're communicating with them via when you're communicating with them via in-mail or direct message, as it were, try to spark the conversation by getting them to talk about themselves first. And if you've sent somebody a message on LinkedIn and they didn't respond to your message on LinkedIn, one of the other things that you can do is look for an opportunity to engage with them on the platform in another manner. So watch for them to post something. If they drop a post, then go and leave a meaningful comment. And when you leave a meaningful comment, it brings you back top of mind. And maybe they're thinking, oh, you know what? I actually remember that Steve sent me a message. I should go back and answer that message. Erwin says, hey, Mark, I finally joined a live session as a VO guy seeing a legend in the moment, aka Mark Scott. It is its own masterclass. Ooh, I don't know. That sets the bar pretty high, man. That puts some pressure on me. But thank you so much for coming and joining on the live stream today. I certainly do appreciate it. Speaking of the podcast, the brand new episode with Gina Scarpa is out. I did an episode with Gina, I think it was in 2023 when I originally talked to Gina, and we talked about SEO. But a lot has changed in the world of SEO. A lot has changed in the world of SEO. AI, in particular, having a profound impact on the world of SEO. And just in how search results are displayed and how Google is treating SEO these days. And so I did this episode with Gina, How to Dominate SEO as a Voice Actor in the AI Age. So that's the brand new episode that's available. Again, that's right now. You can get it at vopreneur.com. It's right here on the YouTube channel. You can watch the video. It's also available if you are listening via Apple Podcasts, Spotify, whatever. But it's a really helpful interview if you are looking to do some SEO. And one of the things that I love about Gina and one of the things that I have learned from her is that SEO isn't as complicated as we probably make it out to be. And it's something that even if you have some basic writing skills, there's still a level of SEO that you can incorporate. So lots of actionable, practical advice in that episode with Gina. All right, Ed says, Mark, I need a LinkedIn profile. Any advice on the quickest way to get it started? Just go to LinkedIn and set it up and just start filling in the boxes with your voiceover information, if nothing else. Although I will say, anything that you've done in the past can still have relevance to voiceover. And so a perfect example of that, I just did a coaching session just before this live stream. And I was actually looking at the LinkedIn profile for the guy that I was doing the coaching session with. It was one of the things that he had asked me to do was look over his profile. And he's got a pretty impressive LinkedIn profile because he's got a pretty extensive background. Licensed realtor, licensed pilot, has worked in software development and IT, and it just worked in all kinds of different places and brings a ton of knowledge and a ton of experience to the table. And so one of the things that I was talking to him about was figuring out how do we leverage all of those aspects of your past to potentially create some niche markets for voiceover opportunities. And so we talked about the pilot thing, the fact that he's a licensed pilot. I said, somebody is creating content for pilots, whether that is training content or social media content, whether it's manufacturers who are creating sales videos, whatever. There is a ton of content that is being created in that space. So how can you find the people who are creating that content and reach out to them? Because now you're not just bringing your experience as a voice actor to the table, you're bringing your experience as a pilot to the table. So when you are filling out your LinkedIn profile, or if you're updating your LinkedIn profile, make sure that you leave all of that stuff from the past in there, because you never know how that might actually come into play. All right, let's see. Where are we going? Shelly says, "Hey, Mark, as a Canadian, do you market yourself in the US? And if so, have you found it easy to do that work administratively, tax-wise, etc.?" Yes, I actively market myself in the United States. In fact, I extensively market myself in the United States. The only thing that really you have to take into consideration, because I'm bringing all of the money back, ultimately it's coming back into Canada, and so I'm claiming everything that I make on my tax returns here in Canada. But occasionally, if you're working with a client from the States, they will ask you for a 1099, which is a form that you have, tax form that you have to fill out. But for us Canadians, we actually don't do the 1099. We do the W-8 Ben is the name of that form. So I have that form filled out, and I keep that handy for when clients request it. But again, not an accountant. This is not financial advice. Always speak to an accountant if you have anything in particular that you're unsure about. But it's pretty straightforward to work with clients in the United States. I mean, I work with clients in the US. I work with clients in Mexico. I've worked with clients in South America. I work with clients in Europe and in the UK, in the Middle East, Dubai. So I'm working with clients all over the world. And that is the beauty of the internet. It makes it possible for it to be done that way. Erwin says, "What do you recommend for voice actors building a relationship with casting directors through auditioning, yet have not booked with them?" Number one pro tip for that: watch for these casting directors to teach. Not all of them will, but some of them will. So, great example, Tina Marasco, legendary casting director with Sound and Fury. And if you've got a US agent, if you've got a reputable, large market US agent, odds are at some point you've seen Sound and Fury castings in your inbox. Tina will teach periodically, and she has a course that she offers called The Library. And it is a course that is, I joked during the 12 voiceover gifts of Christmas that it's like the holy grail of voiceover classes. Like, it's the one class that everybody wants to take, is Tina Marasco's Library. I would encourage you, whenever you see a casting director that is doing any kind of teaching, look for an opportunity to get in front of them through that class. So whether it's doing Tina Marasco's Library, Mary Lynn Wisner is a casting director, and Mary Lynn Wisner does coaching, and she teaches classes as well. Look for opportunities to get in front of some of these casting directors at conferences, VO Atlanta, or One Voice in Dallas, or Mavo in Virginia. There's plenty of opportunities. I would also say watch for some of the different training organizations. So Ann Ganguza's VO Peeps, Gravy for the Brain, GVAA, Global Voice Acting Academy, Real Voice LA, some of these reputable companies that are doing training as well. Are they bringing in any of these casting directors? I would say the same goes for agents too. Are they bringing in any of these people to teach classes? If they are, take the class and get in front of them. Now, taking the class and getting in front of them does not guarantee that you're going to get work. Of course not. But it might make you a little more memorable. Or they might know, you'd be surprised, especially with some of these casting directors, if you've submitted for them in the past, they're probably going to be aware of that. They're going to know. And they're going to be able to point to certain auditions that you've submitted. And maybe they'll play the audition that you submitted and the audition that ultimately booked. And you get to learn from that experience. And so that would be the number one tip that I've got, is look for opportunities to get in front of these people in any way that you can, but especially in a class setting or a private coaching setting, and have the opportunity to learn from them directly so that you can figure out exactly what it is that they're doing and what they're looking for. Again, welcome to Free Advice Friday. If you have a question that you would like to ask and get answered, by all means, please type it into the comments. I'm certainly happy to try to answer as many questions for you as I can. I can stick around until about 2 o'clock Eastern, then I got to jump out for another coaching session. If there is a question that you would like to ask, if you put it in the comments, just put a Q beside it. Just makes it a little bit easier for me to find it in the chat And we'll just keep working our way through here, trying to get to all of your questions on Free Advice Friday. Let's see what else is going on. Oh, Uncle Roy's in the house now. Welcome, Uncle Roy. Briscoe's got another question. What tips or advice or strategies would you give to an American marketing in Canada? Don't. That would be my that would be my tips and my strategy. No, I don't think there's anything special that you need to understand other than the fact that the voiceover rates are a lot lower here, or tend to be a lot lower here. Although now, I guess with the dollar, I don't know. It probably doesn't work out really for you, but our dollar's worthless right now, and becoming even less worthless, more worthless by the day. Yeah, I don't think there's anything special that you need to understand other than having an understanding of the market and recognizing that obviously the economy here is a lot smaller, population is a lot smaller, opportunities are not as plentiful, and rates generally tend to be not as good. But outside of that, no, there's nothing really special or unique. And I would say the same goes for marketing in any foreign country. The most important thing, I think, is having a good understanding of the rate structure. GVAA is great if you're working in the US market, but GVAA does not specifically apply if you're working with a client in Canada or Germany or Australia or New Zealand or whatever. And so having a little bit of an understanding of the market up front, having an understanding of the rates up front can certainly help. Always being respectful of time zones whenever that is relevant, not specifically with Canada versus the US necessarily, but when you're marketing overseas in particular, I think that's definitely something that you got to pay attention to as well, right? Don't be sending marketing emails that are going to land at 2:00 in the morning or whatever. Things like that, keep in mind. All right, let's see, where are we going? Matthew says, in message volleys with potential clients, do you find yourself defending human voices over generative voices? Seems a significant struggle, even when clients express dissatisfaction with AI. I thought that I would be having that conversation a lot more than I actually do. In fact, I can tell you confidently, the conversation that I am having more is from creatives who are pushing back against AI. I have talked to more producers, video production guys in the last month or two who are anti-AI than I have spoken to who are using AI. I'm not saying you're never going to have that conversation. You're probably going to have that conversation. I was expecting that it was going to be a lot more than I'm actually having it, which is encouraging. Obviously, I feel good about that. I will try to make my value proposition understood. And I don't want to be a defeatist, but it seems like for some of these places that are embracing AI, it really doesn't matter what you say. For the couple of people that I have had conversations with, what I always get is it's good enough. I mean, what do I do with that, right? Like I could talk about my value proposition as a human. I can talk about how great I am to work with. I can talk about how much easier I can make their lives. Working with AI is not easy, not for audio. And I think a lot of people don't understand that, that you can't, it's not like it's just plug and play. You don't just take your script, dump it in and get a perfect AI generated recording out of it. There's a lot of farting around that has to be done to make it sound good. And so I can talk about the fact that, they can avoid all of that and whatnot. But at the end of the day, if they're settling for good enough, I guess the other question I have to ask myself is that somebody that I even really want to work with in the first place? And sometimes the answer to that question is no, in which case, what's the point in even trying to defend myself or defend human voices at that point? But yeah, I'm grateful, surprised and grateful that I haven't had to have that conversation more at this point. Both of Tina's VOA-X sessions are sold out and waitlisted. Yeah, she probably sold out in the first 12 seconds. Like literally, she's one of those people. But her library, I'm telling you, check it out. Go to her website, look up the library. Let's do it. Tina Marasco. Here, let's do it right now. Tina Marasco, there she is. Tina Marasco, voice coaching. Voiceover library. There you go. Go to tinamarascocoaching.com, click the library. There it is. It's $400 or $450 or something like that. Like it's not crazy expensive. But if you want, if you're we're talking commercial, just to be clear, we're talking commercial. If you are looking for commercial insights from one of the best, there you go. That's what you're looking for right there. I am not affiliated with Tina Marasco, and I do not get any kickbacks and any extra bookings or any special consideration for this name mention. Just to be clear, she's just awesome, and her library is just awesome, and everybody that's taken it says that it's awesome. So might be something worth checking out. Robert, oh, don't ask me this, Robert. Should you be using headphones when recording VO, and under what circumstances? I tried using headphones, but found my recording sounded lifeless. Would headphones over one ear work better? This debate is as old as time. Probably one of the most heavily debated and contested subjects in voiceover. Uncle Roy is with us right now. I'm sure he has thoughts on this. I wear headphones more often than I probably should, but it's a comfort thing for me, I think, coming from a background in radio and just, always having to wear headphones. I have tried, I continue to try to get out of that habit, and I'm getting better at it. And sometimes I will do a read with and a read without, just to see what the differences are or if there is a difference. And sometimes I don't really notice a lot of difference, but I also think it's just because I've been doing it for so long and I've been wearing headphones for so long. I think most coaches, and keep in mind, I'm just a business and marketing guy. I don't have anything of value to offer you on the performance side. I think most performance coaches, though, would tell you don't wear headphones in the booth if you can get away with it. Obviously, if you're doing a directed session, if you're on Source Connect or Zoom or something like that, you have no choice. But if you're just in there recording on your own, I think most coaches would tell you, no, don't, bad. I will tell you that maybe it's a personal preference, but like I said, I have nothing of value to offer as a performance coach. That's the question we just asked. Sorry, didn't mean to bring that one up again. Moving on. I meant to click this one. Hey, Mark, I'm connecting with people on LinkedIn, then sending them an outreach email. I haven't gotten a website yet and have mostly worked on Upwork so far. Do you think they'll believe I'm a genuine VO? In 2025, if I can't find you on Google, are you really even real? And I don't say that to be mean, and I'm not trying to be rude, but I want you to think about, you need a roof for your house, okay? So you're going to go out, you're going to collect 3 quotes from local roofers to get a roof put on your house. So in most cases, most of us will go to Google and we will do a search for roofers near me. If there is a roofer that you've heard about, maybe you saw their truck in town or something like that, but you can't find them when you do a Google search, what are the odds that that's going to be the roofer that you're going to hire? Whereas if the other 2 roofers that you looked up do have websites and you were able to read about them and you were able to see some testimonials and you were able to see some pictures of the roofs that they've done, what are the odds that one of those is going to be the one that you hire? And so I just think at this point in the digital world, it's too important to have an online presence because it is what we do instinctively. Anytime we're potentially going to work with somebody new, hire somebody new, buy something new, what do? We Google it. We Google it, or we go into YouTube and we search it up and we watch a review on it or whatever. And so if I can't find you, I can't vet you. And if I can't vet you, I don't know whether I know, like, and trust you. And if I can't know, like, and trust you, I'm probably not going to hire you. So I think that it is absolutely essential to get that website into place. I think the sooner, the better, because I do think people will look you up. Now, you mentioned that you're using LinkedIn. If you don't have a website, if you're going to use LinkedIn, at the very least, make sure that everything I need to know about you is on your LinkedIn profile. And you can put it all there. You can put information about what it's like to work with you. You can put information about your studio. You can put information about the types of voiceover that you do. All of that stuff can go into your About section. You can use the featured section on your LinkedIn profile to share demos. You can also post demos in the experience section of your LinkedIn profile. And so there are ways that you could probably try to get away with it if people are going to stay on platform. But ultimately, at the end of the day, I think so many people are just going to go to Google instinctively or want to look you up. And if they can't find you, then I think that's a problem. Tina says, yeah, or Iris says yes for Tina's library. She'll occasionally offer a 15% discount code on her LinkedIn. So there you go. Make sure that you're connected with her on LinkedIn too, and maybe you'll be able to find a 15% off coupon. That would be all right. Dave says, is there an AI assistant scheme you'd recommend to automate marketing, or do you still think the human touch is required? I do still think the human touch is required. I think probably more so than ever, I think the human touch is required because so many people have started using AI to automate their emails that a lot of it has just become generic noise. And I think you'll notice, I mean, I've noticed this. I've noticed where emails are almost identical. I get different, like, okay, here's a great example. I get pitched probably 4 or 5 times a week now for people to be on my podcast. Every one of those pitch emails is almost identically written. They're all coming from representatives. Most of them are coming from representatives, agents or agencies or whatever. But almost every one of those emails is nearly identical. And I would say if I've gotten 50 of them in the last 6 weeks, one of them I've actually thought might be a consideration for my podcast because it was an actual voice actor. All the other, like, I'm getting pitch emails from guys who run lawn mowing services. And I'm like, what in the world? But that's because they're using AI to write emails. They're using AI to do research. Maybe they're using a human assistant or something like that to blitz those emails out to every single podcast known to man. And the hope is, throw enough spaghetti at the wall and some will stick. But really, it just pisses me off. Like, why are you pitching me you mow lawns? Like, good for you. I'm glad that you've built a multi-million-dollar lawn care business, but what the heck does that have to do with voiceover? Why would you be why would your story of building your lawn mowing business have any relevance to my voice actors? And so I think it's stuff like that makes the human touch stand out even more at this point in time. All right, where are we at? Continuing to go through. Just again, as a reminder, I talked about it earlier, kicked off the beginning of the show talking about it, but success is in the follow-up. You have to have a follow-up strategy to succeed in voiceover today. And that is why I'm teaching a fully updated version of my Follow-Up Academy Masterclass. I'm going to talk about, for the first time, the fully overhauled follow-up strategy that I am using for my voiceover business. I have completely changed the way that I am doing follow-ups because I need to adapt for what is going on in the marketplace today. So if you are struggling with follow-up, if you are not currently sending follow-up, if your follow-up strategy is not currently working for you, go to vopreneur.com, click on the store button. There it is, Follow-Up Academy Masterclass. February 11th, 1 o'clock Eastern, February 13th, 7 p.m. Eastern. These are 2-hour classes, deep dives into my follow-up strategy. I'm going to walk you through everything. I'm going to show you exactly what that strategy looks like, how many emails I'm sending. I'm going to give you ideas for what you're going to include in those emails. I'm going to show you ways to automate this whole entire process. Like, we are going to walk through it all. This is going to be a must-take masterclass if you are going to succeed in email marketing in 2025. vopreneur.com, click on the store button, grab the one that works for you time-wise. If you are unable to attend live, you will get access to a complete video recording. So sign up anyway. Don't miss out on it. And if you have previously purchased Follow-Up Academy, you will get access to the complete recording as well. So don't worry about it. You are not going to miss anything. All right, let's see. Where are we going? I don't have a lot of VO work thus far to put on my resume. How do I best communicate, sell the reasons a client should use my services? Address their pain points. What do you have to offer? How are you going to make their lives easier? Talking about those your ability to do directed sessions, my ability to turn around quickly, the fact that you're really easy to work with, or that you're really friendly to work with, or so talk about some of those other things. Look, we all start somewhere where we don't have a resume and we don't have testimonials. Lean into your demos at this point. Your demos are what will do the selling for you, and then you can add some of that other stuff down the road as you start to expand out your client roster. Oh, look at that. Everett Oliver is in the house. Welcome, Everett. All right. If you've been enjoying the live stream so far, if I have answered one of your questions, if I have provided any helpful, useful, or insightful advice, would you do me a favor and hit the like button? Give me that thumbs up. I would certainly appreciate it. Briscoe VO, can I be on your podcast? No, that's a terrible pitch. It's not personalized enough. You want to be on my podcast, you're going to have to try so much harder than that. Come on now. What do you think I was going to say? All right, let's see. What else is going on? What else can I talk to you about? Don't make these mistakes. I mentioned earlier that I did somewhere around the 800 coaching sessions in 2024. And one of the things that I have learned from the number of voice actors that I have coached with is I have learned all of the things that voice actors are doing wrong. Oh, and by the way, part of the way that I learned all the things that I'm doing or the voice actors do wrong is because I did all of them wrong myself as well. I have put together a new free guide that has some of the most common marketing mistakes that voice actors are making. I don't want you to make these same mistakes. So if you go to voiceovermarketingplaybook.com, voiceovermarketingplaybook.com, and fill out your email, your name and your email right here, I'm going to send you that guide with the common marketing mistakes that voice actors are making. Again, this is totally free. And then I'm going to follow that up with some more insights you'll get some emails from me that offer even more insights into some of those marketing mistakes and how to correct them. So if you want that free guide, head over to voiceovermarketingplaybook.com. Voiceovermarketingplaybook.com. You can sign up there. You can get that free guide, get some of those tips, help you to avoid making some of those common marketing mistakes. All right, where are we going? It is 1:47 p.m. Eastern. Nice try, Briscoe. See, even they know. Even they know. Terry, come on. You want to be on my podcast? You got to try so much harder than that. Come on. Who are you kidding? I got some good stuff coming up on the podcast, by the way, everybody. Emma O'Neill is going to be on the show next week. You're going to want to pay attention to this one. If you read the NAVA State of Voiceover survey, the overwhelming majority of voice actors make $0 off of their agents. Literally, $0. And it's like 60% or something like that of voice actors earn less than 10% of their income from agents. Emma O'Neill is a non-union voice actor who's making bank, and over 50% of her income is coming from agents. So what the heck is she doing that the rest of us aren't? I spent an hour having that conversation with her, and some of the insights that she offered, gold. So that episode is coming out next week. That is going to be a good one. If you want to make more money from your agents, mark your calendars for that one. That episode drops next Thursday. Let's see what else is coming up. Bobby Maxwell, who also hosts her own podcast. Bobby Maxwell booked 320 some odd automotive commercials in 2024. She literally did almost a commercial a day in automotive in 2024. How the heck is she doing that much automotive? Well, again, I asked all the questions and I got all of the secrets. And so that episode is going to be coming up here in a couple of weeks. So that's a good one to be looking forward to as well. So there's some good stuff coming up on the podcast. Make sure you subscribe wherever fine podcasts are given away for free. The Everyday VOpreneur podcast, and always the videos get posted right here on the YouTube channel as well. So watch for them on the YouTube channel. Iris says, Mark, do you have any negotiation tips to use on clients who continue to push for full retakes due to directorial changes, not talent error, revisions, pickups, second language ads for free. Everything has to be outlined before you ever get to the recording process. So even if you don't want to use a contract, there's a simple one-page VO agreement that you can use. Let me see if I can find it. Hang on, I'm looking for it. Of course, I'm not going to be able to find it now. Sample, here we go. This is it. It was posted on VoiceOver Extra a long time ago. I'm gonna put it in the chat here, okay? So look for that link in the chat. This is so easy. Sample letter of agreement. Okay, this is a one-page document. There's not a lot in there, but here you go. Talent will provide, outlines exactly what's going to be provided. Compensation, outlines exact compensation. Terms, it outlines all of the terms. In those terms, you have to outline exactly what your revisions and retake policy is. And so I have this conversation with every one of my clients, what my revisions and retake policy is, and I make it very clear that I am always happy to fix revisions or fix mistakes that are due to my error. So if I, missed a word, booted a word, mispronounced a word or something like that, I'm always going to fix that. However, additional billing may be incurred for script changes after the session. And so it's written right into the agreement that there would be additional billing for script revisions. Now, by writing it into the agreement, I think that's where you get a little bit of negotiation leverage. Because if a really great client comes back to me and is like, Mark, we totally screwed up and we just really need you to fix this one line, I can then write back and say, we need you to fix this line and how much is it going to cost? I can write back and say, here it is. Here's your file, include it in the email. This one's on the house. Thanks for being such a great client. And now I'm a hero. At the same time, if I have somebody who's trying to take advantage of me, I can point to that agreement and say, look, it's written right into the agreement that this is what the terms are. And so I can maybe offer to give them one, but let them know that the next one is going to be billed and give them a number for what the next one is going to be billed at. And so I think it's so important to outline this up front because otherwise you do run the risk of being taken advantage of. And I think that also goes for compensation as far as like if you're getting hired for a spot and you're doing a Spanish and an English, that's two different spots. That's two different billings. And if they're trying to take advantage of you on that, you have to be willing to push back on that. Because here's the other thing. Whatever you decide to do becomes the precedent. So if you let them take advantage of you the first time, if you give them the spot or whatever, you've set a precedent where they will try to do the same thing or potentially try to do the same thing the next time. And so I want to make a point of training my clients from very early on that if you are making a ton of script changes and you're expecting me to revise this thing 4 times, you're going to get billed for it. And do you know what? When I started enforcing that, the number of revision jobs that I did actually got reduced significantly because nobody wants to pay for the job twice or 3 times or 4 times. So figure out what your revision and retake policy is, outline it very clearly up front. A simple sample letter of agreement that outlines that can make it really easy to understand, but make sure that it is very clear ahead of time. Iris says, should the sample letter of agreement be used in pay to plays as well? You can. Yeah, and you can't attach it, but you could certainly copy and paste it. And it gives you the ability in your audition notes to put, you could put your revisions policy right in your audition notes if you wanted to, or once you book the job with the client, you should be able to have communication with the client. You could put your agreement in there as well, but don't let them take advantage of you because if you let them take advantage of you one time, they are much more likely to try and take advantage of you a second time and a third time and a fourth time. Dave says, it's been a while since I've tuned into your content, forgot how good you are. Well, thank you very much, Dave. Hey, it's been a while since I gave you anything to tune into. I can't believe it. It's been like back in December since I did a Free Advice Friday. It was crazy. We went through a stretch. I'm not even exaggerating. We went through a stretch in this house from Halloween right up until about the second week of January. So 2.5 months where there was not one day where everybody in this house was healthy at the same time. Like, it's just been never-ending cold and flu season in this place ever since Halloween. I had walking pneumonia. My 2 older girls had walking pneumonia. I was off for like a month. I just felt like crap for like a month. It was brutal. So it actually feels good to be able to be back and be doing this again. And I'm excited to be hanging out with you guys. And thank you as always for coming and asking your questions, because I certainly appreciate it. Do you recommend a rate sheet? I think it's good to have a rate sheet for your own reference. I do not recommend having a rate sheet that you send out to your clients. Now, because it has to be complicated, there's always got to be certain exceptions to the rule. I have certain clients that I work with that I only do one thing with that client and will only do one thing with that client because that's all they do. So if I'm working with an e-learning company, for example, I don't mind laying out my e-learning rates for that e-learning company because that's all we're going to do together. I have some explainer video companies that I work with. I don't have a problem outlining or laying out a rate sheet for them where, explainer videos, this is the usage, for under 60 seconds, it's this much. For 60 seconds to 90 seconds, it's this much. For 90 seconds to 2 minutes, it's this much, whatever. So there are certain instances where I'm okay with laying it out and agreeing because I think it makes things easier up front, right? If I'm going to work with a company and the only thing we're going to do with each other is explainer videos and they're always going to have the exact same usage, then laying out a rate agreement up front just makes life easier because now I don't have to negotiate every single rate. We don't have to go back and forth on every single rate. We just know, okay, here's the script. It's this long. This is the rate. So I do think there are some instances where you can potentially get away with it, but I think when you are going to do that, you also have to make it abundantly clear, this is for this one specific usage. So in the event that this company decides to do something other than an explainer video, then I would retain the right to quote that as a totally separate, totally different project. And so I think that's the one time where, maybe you lay the rates out up front, but you have to make sure that you give yourself the opportunity to negotiate if anything changes or if the circumstances change. So I think that's important too. Matthew says, how much is going into the smoker this weekend? I might do ribs on Sunday. I'm waiting to see what the weather's going to be like. This past week, it was so cold, I don't even know if I could have got my smoker going. Like, it was just stupid cold this past week. Last 2 weeks actually have been like that here. So I'm hoping it's supposed to be a little bit milder this weekend, and I've got some ribs. I'd kind of like to do some ribs this weekend with a homemade Dr. Pepper barbecue sauce. Justin says, have you heard of successful connections with new clients happening through their intake form on their website? Yes, I have had that. If the only way that a company offers for communication is a form on their website, like if there's no email address anywhere, this is the only way that you can reach out to that company. Somebody is checking that form. That is going somewhere. It's going to an email address somewhere, somebody who is a gatekeeper, and they're probably filtering it off to the appropriate person or whatever. I think if you write a really great message, I think you can still write a very personalized introductory style email sent through a form. And I think that you can use LinkedIn or other tools to try to figure out. So even if it's a generic form on a website, I can still use LinkedIn to figure out who the video producer is. And if I find out that the video producer's name is Bob, I can still address the email to Bob. And then when the email lands in the central inbox or whatever, they see, oh, this is for Bob. And then they forward it to Bob. And so I have had success many times in the past in using those forms. I think it's still just all in the approach, writing a good email, trying as hard as you can to figure out who to direct it to. Like I said, if it's the only way that they're offering to communicate, somebody's going to check it. All right, everyone. That pretty much wraps it up. for Free Advice Friday. I have to go because I have coaching sessions that I have to do still this afternoon. But I thank you so much for hanging out with me. As always, please, VOpreneur.com, click on the store button, Follow Up Academy Masterclass. Guys, I cannot express to you how important this is. If your emails are not converting, if you're not currently sending follow-ups, if you are sending an email once a year, that is not a follow-up strategy. If the follow-ups that you're doing aren't producing any results, this class is going to help you fix all of that. I'm going to teach you everything that I am doing, exactly how I am doing it. And it's all new because I have changed the way that I'm doing everything. In the last 2 months, two and a half months, I've changed the way I'm doing everything. This class is going to be incredibly helpful. It will make you a better email marketer. So go to VOpreneur.com, click on the store button, choose your date. February 11th, 1 o'clock Eastern, February 13th, 7 p.m. Eastern, 2-hour masterclass. Deep dive into the follow-up strategy. Check it out. It will be worth it. All right, everybody. Let me check my calendar. Hang on. Where are we at? Next Friday. I think I might be able to do Free Advice Friday next Friday. So hopefully we will be back again. So make sure that you subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you subscribe to the YouTube channel, you will always get notified when I am going live. So if I can do it next week, I'll try to post it early and let you know. But hopefully I'll be able to be here. But I'd love to see you. So make sure that you subscribe. Hit that like button on your way out too. I would certainly appreciate it. All right, as always, whatever you decide to do this weekend, have fun, stay safe, and go find some leads.